All right, guys, welcome back to the FPL One Percenters Podcast, leading into Game Week 13. The game weeks are coming thick and fast now, so you're going to be seeing a little bit more of us now. We jump online, we unpack what went on in the previous game week yesterday, and we look ahead to what's coming up tomorrow. We sort of discuss our captaincy options, give out our sort of game week analysis, and it was yet another week of unexpected FPL drama. Relatively decent scoring for most of us. And as we head right into this December football bonanza, I'm joined by Kazim and back from holiday, Hammer. Hammer, welcome back.
Thanks, man. We'll see today if the podcast is going to curse me again. Well, we'll find out.
Brilliant. Can't wait. Kazim, welcome back, sir.
Thanks, man. Looking forward to another good chat, as Haas would say in his absence.
Yeah, I know. In absentia. Haas will be back with us for the lead up to game week 14. But for now, you're stuck with the three of us. And announcement for the FPL One Percenters, now brought to you by Footsapp. For those of you that haven't heard, Footsapp is a fantastic app that takes all of the hassle out of organizing a football session with your mates or with your team. Finding out who's in, who's out, making teams, a chat function inbuilt, keeping track of stats, who's performing really well, who's performing not so well. Basically, the FPL of real grassroots football. The app is free to download on the App Store and the Play Store. So check it out. Links are all in the bio, and they're really supporting the pod. So really appreciate it. Guys, without further ado, how was the game week? Hammer, we haven't heard from you for a while, so why don't we start?
My game week went well. I think I had Jamie Vardy in my team, so he did well with a goal and 2 assists. Salah was my captain. He did well too. I had a City defender on the bench, so missed out on that clean sheet. But besides that, I got 69 points. 4th week in a row above the average, catching up to everyone above me. So yeah, so far so good. I keep rolling.
Nice. Amazing. Kazim, how about yourself, man?
Yeah, subpar game week. I mean, I did beat the average by, I believe, 10 points. I think I got 62 or 64. Yeah, I mean, got lucky with the Salah sort of captainship, like most people. But other than that, like, big sort of disappointment for me was the Chelsea result. I've doubled up on the defenders and, conceding a goal and Reece James missing a couple chances. Could have been a different game week, but we move on to the next.
Yeah, it would have been a healthier game week for me, similar to yourself. I mean, I didn't have the Chelsea double up, but I had Reece James, and would have been a healthier game week if he had sort of got a goal or an assist, especially with other defenders kind of scoring. Justin, don't know who else, but they had quite a good game week. But yeah, I settled on 63 after the couple of game weeks that I've had. Just being above average was quite a pleasant surprise. I had Salah, the captain, and then I had Vardy and Kane up front. So. It's I know. The Ziyech and Hammer's injuries on Friday sort of forced me to go that way because I had two options of how to get Salah back into my team. But the fact that Ziyech and Hammers were both injured prior to the game week deadline sort of forced my hand in that sense. But it worked out in the end. The dilemma is there's a couple of dilemmas now that sort of a game week throws up because I bet we all sort of make plans for what we want to do with our game week. But after we watch the football, we have kind of differing opinions. So, firstly, Spurs keep rolling. And genuinely, Son and Kane just are assets that are fixture-proof. And what do you guys think? Kazim, I know you're holding Son. Are you holding Kane as well?
No, right now, just Son. Okay. I mean, I sort of made the move from Kane to Vardy. I think a couple of weeks ago. It's over the last 3 game weeks. It's paid off, barely. Yeah. But... I think long-term still Kane is looking like undroppable. It's just hard to fit him in with all the other premium players.
100%. It's easier to fit in a midfielder than it is to fit in a premium forward, I guess. It needs a couple of moves. Amma, what are your plans for Spurs players?
So based on the way the game went, like Kane's goal came from a Guaita mistake. And Son was at the end of everything. I think Kane had like 2 chances all game. Son had like 4 or 5. So I'm sticking with Son, especially because like you have Vardy up top who you can sub off with Kane, and then you have so many budget strikers this year. So for me, it's Son all the way. He's a cheaper option, and he plays up front with Kane, so more potential there.
Nice. And Kazim, do you have any sort of long-term plans with Spurs, like to bring in Kane or to sub him in, or sort of you're waiting and seeing for now? There's too much uncertainty.
There is too much going on in my head, but I need to pull the trigger for KDB, and Son will be the sacrificial lamb. Or it could be Grealish, but I mean, I'm leading towards Son just because of those two toughish fixtures. I just feel Grealish can still hopefully tip the scale a bit, and I can use that extra money to upgrade to a better striker potentially. So long term though, they're definitely like keeps. If you have KDB and if you have like a decent mid, like I don't see a need to drop them. It's just I'm facing the KDB conundrum right now, and I don't want to miss that train.
I don't want to.
Just let Warner score 2 goals and see Kazim ride Warner again.
It only needs a little spark to get going for Chelsea, to be honest.
Yeah.
The one thing I would say is, so they play Liverpool, they play Leicester, then they have a couple of other games. But game week 16, things which we discussed on the pod previously, things really clear up for Spurs. So my aim is, if I'm going to drop, so I have Kane at the moment, I'm going to drop potentially Kane to go for a KDB in midfield for the next few game weeks, because potentially KDB will outscore Kane over the next few weeks. But I'm looking at ideally bringing Son in for game week 16, sort of no questions, nothing around form and fixtures, just literally those fixtures from game week 16 onwards, they're too hard to ignore. So that's my sort of medium-term-ish plan. But until then, sort of, Son's the easier hold, right?
Yeah, for sure. Son's the easier hold, the cheaper hold.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, that's true. With regards to Vardy and the Leicester conundrum, it was a lot easier to drop him before he sort of lit it up this weekend. Leicester looked like a totally different side. They didn't have any fans in the stadium, but it seemed like there was something to them, a spark. Was it Maddison? Was it? They don't normally perform that well at home at all. Sort of, I think 70% of Vardy's goals have come away from home. So they don't normally perform. So what was the switch? I mean, do you guys have any idea what happened? Or, I mean, it's good for them, but
well, based on just based on how the game went, Brighton actually had the early opportunities to take the lead, and then Maddison takes a scuffed shot that went through one defender's leg, went over the hand of the goalkeeper and in, and that gave them sort of that impetus to go on and get 2 more goals. And as we've seen with Brighton this year, they keep attacking, so they leave spaces in behind, right? And I think Maddison had like a beauty of a third goal, like the third goal for Leicester, and that creamed it, right? But the thing I noticed about Leicester, and it's the same with Spurs, like the fixture list over the next 7 games, like they play Everton next, and then they play Spurs, United, Crystal Palace, Newcastle, Chelsea, and Southampton. That's their next 7 games. Right? Those are some tough games coming up. Like after that, it clears up like crazy. But if you have Vardy, like you're looking at those next 7 games and thinking if he gets, 1 goal, 2, 3 goals, like if you're holding on to him, that's what you're expecting. Like he's going up against some big defenses, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and the thing with Vardy, like he's still, I mean, he obviously is getting the FPL points, but he's doing it. The last 3 weeks he did it against weaker sides. And if you see the way he plays, he doesn't his stats are not the greatest. And against the biggest sides, I feel like, I know he got a decent haul against City this year, but other than that, he doesn't have the best record against the biggest sides, at least in terms of double digits. So I think for him,
he loves playing against Arsenal, but aside from that, sorry, big sides.
Yeah. So I think with him, you once again, you can't have everyone, so you really got to assess the fixtures and sort of pick and choose based on that. And with Vardy, yes, he could score. Yes, he could come up with with the points, but the other players in his price range and his price bracket seem to have the fixtures more favorable. So
true, and even cheaper.
What was that? Sorry.
And even cheaper players potentially have better fixtures or better outlook. Because let's be honest, his assist was quite lucky. Firstly, it was very lucky. I couldn't even tell from the second, third replay whether he got it. I just waited for FPL to update. But it has given me slightly more of a problem in sort of. I was quite debating whether to drop Kane or Vardy. It's given me a bit of a problem in that sense, and probably most people. But you're right. Think through the fixtures. Think long term, and then don't sort of worry too much. Go on.
Sure.
Now.
There is one thing that I actually went through when I found out this week. So last year, Vardy, after 13 game weeks, so going into the 13th game week, he had 100 points and 13 goals.
Nice.
Right? This year, after the 12 game weeks, he's played 11 game weeks.
Nice.
So his point per game is actually the same as last year's, but he has 87 points and he has 10 goals. So very similar.
Yeah.
But he finished with 211 points and 23 goals last year. Right? Which means that if you take that same tally this year, he's getting you another 130 points in the remaining 26 game weeks.
Oh, wow.
Right? That's like what, 5 points per game week at a value of what, 10 point something million. Sorry, I can't remember his price.
Yeah.
But that's not particularly valuable if you can bring in like a Che Adams or a Bamford if you don't have Bamford at their price at that average. Like you're looking at.
And the thing is that it's also like points per million, number one, but he scores in bursts a lot, and he has these runs. So if you catch him on a run, you're lucky. But he's not an all-season hold. He's not a Mo Salah, or he's not. This is the debate we had previously around Vardy. So, but yeah, very, very true. I mean, it's quite surprising the rate at which he scored points. So if you jump on a hole like we did this past week, then great. But don't be too afraid to cut him loose, because I guess he won't. He won't make you pay for too long, I guess, is the lesson, hopefully there. The other thing that Kazim, we spoke about prior to this is 6th clean sheet in a row for City this weekend. And if you have the stomach to handle Pep Roulette, then you would have come out quite well, actually. With Diaz, I think Diaz played all through it. If you had bought Laporte, not so lucky. Cancelo as well, got the majority of them. Dull game, though, right?
Yeah, dull game. I mean, for me personally, I expected it. I think City should have won it, or they didn't really show that, intent to really go gung-ho and win the game. I think we were speaking about earlier, they were playing a bit fearful, whether they didn't want to get beat on the counter or didn't trust their defenders fully. I think it's a very different City that we're seeing this year, where it's not that huge, just full on attack. I think he's relying more on his defenders. He has quite a few options now, so I think he's able to keep them fresh and really focusing on that. I think that's definitely an asset to look into for City. Just once again, as you mentioned, just make sure you have a bench that really covers that. Because Cancelo, he did play, I think out of the 4 games, he played 3. There was only 1 he got benched, so not so bad. Walker as well, missed only 1.
Yeah, I think across the field with City, across the pitch, across the 11, aside from Edison, you have to accept the fact that, they're going to play 3 out of 4. And I think that's a safe way to go into it. Right?
Yep.
Hammer, anything to add on City United?
Nope, I think Kazim covered everything.
Yeah, brilliant punditry, to be honest. Are we talking about... we move on. Fans. Kazim, this is probably going to hurt most with you, but Everton literally only won because they had fans back in the stadium, I reckon. I mean, it made a massive difference. Is it going to be something we're going to have to look at going forward? I mean, it's also dependent on sort of the tier restrictions in the UK, because if you're in tier 3, essentially, then you can't have any fans. And London just went into tier 3 as of today. So all over Christmas, for the next 2 to 3 weeks at least, there's going to be no fans in London stadiums. But the cities that are allowed to have fans, it is having a massive impact. There's no two ways about it. Hammer, do you think it being a bigger and bigger impact? I can imagine, right?
Yeah, I'll point to one game, Southampton-Sheffield. If you watch that game, you'd see, I think his name is Hassan Huta, the manager.
Yeah.
The guy was crying after the game because he realized how much of an impact the fans had, right? How much they just kept pushing that team forward, right? And he said it at the end of the game that he sent this team out with certain tactics, and all of a sudden you could just see the extra energy because of the fans. So it's going to have a huge impact. Like all of a sudden the home games will actually feel like home games. Yeah.
Do you think it's unfair that they're doing it this way, where certain cities can have it through no fault of their own and certain cities can't? Do you think the Premier League should sort of step in and be like, no one gets any fans? Or I know it's very political and very away from FPL, but just generally.
Yeah, the decision is not based on which team will perform it. It's based on getting some revenue back to the club. So at least this way, where you're not slapping anyone out. But Yeah, I don't think they make the choice by saying, well, let Southampton get some fans because they'll win some games.
Yeah, it's just a bit tricky. You know, I like Manchester and the North, and London was fine up until now, but yeah, as of today, it's no longer good. So
Yeah.
it's going to be a bit of a strange time in general. But yeah, definitely having an impact, I think. Sorry, before we move on, does anyone know what happened to Lamptey? Is he going to be good for this coming game week? He wasn't even in the squad, you know?
Apparently, he felt something in his groin, a sensation in his groin. So,
Okay.
but yeah, no,
That should be
that's
good.
what was. I don't know why they didn't mention it. He didn't mention it in the. What is his name? Potter didn't mention it in the
Yeah, but it
press
was-
conference.
yeah.
He is injured, but he said it's nothing long term.
Yeah, he normally
But
has the
I don't
yellow
know, like
flag
with
anyway.
Brighton and clean sheets, it doesn't seem like Matt
No.
Ryan seems pretty dodgy in net. But with Lamptey, it's just the attacking prowess.
Yeah, but it's a false narrative. As a Lamptey owner, I can tell you, it's sort of a false narrative. He'll score a goal here and there, but they're not going to keep any clean sheets. And if you're chasing attacking returns from your defenders, just get better attackers and
Yeah, there's
get a defender who will keep clean sheets.
And there's so many options in the 4.5.
Yeah, which we'll come to actually. Moving on, actually, we can sort of 4.5, 4.6 defenders wise. Who would be your best shout?
For me, it's either the Southampton players. So either you got Vestergaard, you got Kyle Walker-Peters there. So you have quite a few options there. And then also with Villa, I feel with Martinez in net, they just make them that much stronger to get a clean sheet points. He had an amazing game against Wolves. And then their fixtures sort of are quite favorable over the last 3 weeks or the next 3 weeks. And then with a double game week coming up as well. Those would be my two sort of budget defender buys. And it seems like they're performing the best right now.
Yeah, I think we can all sort of agree that Southampton and Villa probably the way to go. Anyone else, Hammer, that you see who's a budget enabler at the back at least?
Yeah, I'm going to look at the Burnley defenders. So I'm looking at Charlie Taylor, right, from Burnley. Over the next 7 game weeks, they have and I'm going based on the fixture difficulty ranking. So
I heard this actually,
look at it the way you feel, whatever you feel is best. But they're playing Sheffield, Fulham, and this is not in any specific order, but they play Sheffield, Fulham, Aston Villa, Wolves, and Leeds over the next 5 game weeks. So they're looking like they have some of the best fixtures going in, and I'm looking at their defenders for those.
Yeah,
there, yeah.
And their bread and butter is clean sheets, so they can't score. So some of those games I could see 0-0s, or maybe they nick it 1-0.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah,
but I heard on the FPL pod actually, Ashley Barnes hasn't scored for about coming up to 2 years now. Poor guy. So I think attacking assets are
really?
Yeah, I think 18 months. Something. I heard it on the FPL pod actually just before this past game week. Well, yeah, actually, it's a good shout. We all ignored Burnley at the start because firstly they didn't play game week 1, and then they had kind of a terrible start. But they're kind of looking their own, and they're getting rid of all the injury players from injury are coming back now as well. They're looking strong going into this period. With regard to Villa, sort of moving in the forward positions, a lot of people are looking to offload Jack Grealish because a lot of people have already offloaded Jack Grealish because they missed the game. And then after that, this performance this week, I mean, it's okay, but he didn't get anything out of it. His next 3 fixtures look quite appealing. Would you, number one, hold Grealish, or would you get rid, or do you think that Ollie Watkins is a suitable replacement to cover the Grealish points, similar like a Salah Jota type thing earlier in the season?
So I guess when we had this initial debate, Grealish versus Zaha at the beginning of the season, I went Zaha, and I would still go Zaha, only because the way Crystal Palace play and the way Zaha plays, I see him as being more consistent. Grealish is a very flashy player. He gets the ball a lot. He does a lot with it, but he doesn't assist too much. He doesn't create too many chances, right? So especially this season, if you have someone like Watkins up front, he's not scoring any goals. He's not getting involved. So I'm not seeing Grealish as Watkins.
You got unlucky though, Watkins, yeah, because I mean, if you look at the last game week, it wasn't for any want of trying. Like he scored one, he missed the pen, but then he scored one as well at the end of it. So he was ruled offside, yeah. So he has been getting in the position.
Yeah, and like let's be fair, there'll be those moments where he'll get a goal, right? Compared to all the other budget strikers, like they'll all do well at times. Like we see Danny Welbeck doing well the last 3 game weeks. but he's not consistent enough. So if you're looking at a replacement for the two of them, I'd take Zaha over Grealish, and I'd take Che Adams over Watkins.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's only when the double game week comes up that you
Even
might...
though if I give you his points over the last 5 game weeks, 15, 6, 1, 10, and 2.
Yeah, and what's Zaha's? And so who's that? Watkins or Grealish?
That's Grealish.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure if you compare that to Zaha, like, that's pretty good.
Yeah, true. Actually, yeah, to be fair, Zaha got a whole of 18, I think, last week as well.
Yeah.
And he missed like, how many weeks did he miss? Like two games?
Oh, Grealish?
Zaha because of COVID. No, Zaha, right?
Oh, yeah, he did, actually.
I'm just saying overall points, they're like fairly neck and neck, but they probably played the same amount of games because one had COVID and the other game cancellations and stuff.
Yeah, like he had 13, 1, 5, 18, 2. Those were his 5 games, last 5 games.
Oh, wow.
Nice. So he's done pretty well too. Plus, the way they play, they have a lot more leniency on the 3 forwards, whereas Villa focuses on just Grealish. As long as Barkley's not there, it's all Grealish.
Yeah, true.
Right?
True.
Yeah, and I think that's been a big part of too where Grealish has, I guess, somewhat gone quiet in a couple of the games, is not having Barkley there with him. He's sort of having to be the main creativity there. With Barkley, he could sort of share some of that responsibility. Yeah. So
it's always a better party. It's always a better party if Grealish and Barkley are together.
Yeah. He's one's the cameraman, the other's the star of the show.
What a shambles! What a shambles! But yeah, okay, great chat on Zaha. I mean, I'm still not convinced, but Grealish is probably an offload for me for the moment. One that I don't want to get rid of, but I think KDB sort of he's an enabler. I need to get rid of him to get KDB in. So he's probably going to have to go. I might be convinced by the fixtures, maybe to hold one more week and see how it is. But otherwise, he's probably going to have to go, and my premium midfield comes together with Podence. But aside from that, Fulham, guys, are we shocked? I was shocked, to be honest. They should have won, I guess, Liverpool. There's not many FPL assets, and no one's really holding. But is there anyone that would catch your eye, Kazim?
Well, I think with Fulham, that more speaking to that game, that was probably one of the games where the fans had even a bigger influence in that game, where they really I felt like Liverpool just couldn't deal with them with that pace along the wings and stuff. So I think they're looking to turn the tide a bit in terms of getting out of that relegation zone. Yeah, they'll probably still be there, but I feel like
it was very similar. It was very similar to Leicester turning up at Fulham, where they were just expecting to win and then they lost. It's a very similar thing with Liverpool. I feel like they didn't do the basics, and sort of Fulham just kind of punished them, which was nice to see.
Yeah, the thing with Fulham. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say a short point. I think that's the key. Everyone was targeting Fulham from the start of the season. It's just that they would be weak in defense, but they figured things out. Credit to Scott Parker. He figured things out and has made them solid at the back, and they're playing a counter-attacking game against.
And Hammer is dropped Mitrovic, yeah? I think that's the... I mean, you've been saying from week 1, so he finally listened.
And he's gone. He's been benched. So
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Since he's been benched, it's been working out for them.
Yeah.
Even that Abu Bakr guy is gone too, right? I think.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
Another striker they had. Now they play that... Cavallero, I think. Is he still striking?
Yeah. He jumped off the bench to give her a penalty. Poor guy. But in terms of teams to target, Hammer, you've pointed out Burnley in particular for defensive returns. With regards to teams to avoid, I'd say potentially Sheffield, right? Arsenal have a good run of fixtures, relatively good run of fixtures. They play Southampton next, and they have a couple of decent fixtures. Would you look to someone as a differential from Arsenal, or would you look elsewhere? Kazim?
Yeah, I'm not touching that.
Yeah.
There's not really you could. They only really have one player who you could see goals from, and at his price range, it's not what. But he's
in Ketia though. Did he play this weekend? Would he be someone who'd come in instead of a very?
I don't even know if his position is guaranteed either, right? He's
that's the thing.
Hybrid depending on the formation they play. So it's just too much uncertainty with them until Arteta really, defensively, I think maybe there's their best assets because they've been conceding less But like just offensively, they're horrible. I don't know how they're going to fix
to be
it.
honest, I mean, it's a long way away from the first pod where we said that Oba is a must-have now. Things have kind of spiraled for him.
Where I picked Aubameyang as my MVP.
Yeah,
that's not looking good.
yeah. I think that was our test run on the pod. But yeah, we all said that Oba is a must-have, especially with the extra points.
We should revisit those MVPs, by the way. Just saying.
Yeah, we should actually. It's a good point. I think I went KDB if I'm not mistaken. I think Kazim went Salah. Yeah. I'm not too sure. Nonetheless, so any other teams to sort of target, or are we happy to move on? I mean, the usual suspects we sort of know. I think if Chelsea kick it together, then midfielders might potentially become an option at some point. But aside from that, right now, Spurs, Liverpool, City. I mean, make sure you have the base of your team because there's a lot of fixtures in a very short space of time. So I guess I'd say that think through any move you're making and that you're going to have to hold that player for 3-4 weeks now.
Yeah, I'm going to mention one player just based on the way things are going. And that comes back to Crystal Palace. I'm going to mention if you were looking for a budget striker, a differential, I'm looking at Christian Benteke. Right? Okay. If you look at the way the trio up front are playing with Eze, Zaha, and Benteke over the last 2-3 games, it's the three of them playing sort of free-flowing positions. So Benteke going anywhere he wants, Eze going anywhere. And he's created, 3 chances per game over the last 4 games. That's Eze, right? For Benteke. So you're looking at him. If he keeps getting chances, he might be getting back into his Villa Day form.
Oh, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Okay, great shot. In terms of captaincy this week, guys, what are we thinking? It's hard to look away from Bruno away to Sheffield. For me personally, that would be my shout. Spurs and Liverpool, I'd just not be too confident as a captaincy option that week because I just don't know how that's going to go. Mourinho's going to be quite cagey, and it's just going to be. I feel like it's going to be low scoring.
Yeah, I think it's like pretty much the two guys who went head-to-head this week, KDB and Bruno. It's really between those two, right? KDB playing West Brom, and
the only thing with KDB is will he start, right? That's the only thing. If he was going to get a rest, this would be the game, though.
I think personally, what I like. Once again, I'm not a manager, but I think like they lost points last game, right? So really
that would be one thing. If they had won, if they'd beaten United, I'd been a bit more cautious about whether you'd play.
For sure.
Hammer, what do you think?
Yeah, I think they both will start. I think both KDB and Bruno will start. But I go back to your philosophy of KDB playing way too early for the FPL game week.
Yeah,
I'm going to go with Bruno playing on the third day as the better option.
100%. Yeah. I was wondering, is that 3:00? That's your time, right?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That's true. Okay, perfect. So captaincy options, that's fine. Speaking of Fulham, and we seem to be quite impressed. We'll come on to differentials. Let me bring that up here. And Hammer, you want to go first?
Yeah, I went with Danny Welbeck. He's been playing pretty well for Brighton. He got a chance last week. In the last game week, he didn't score, but he kept creating chances, kept getting chances. So I'm thinking this week
he got an assist as well the week before.
Yeah, he got returns in 3 straight games. So
nice.
Nice. Hopefully, he can keep that run going. Yeah.
Okay. Happy days. Kazim, you can talk through Hasses and yours, I guess, right?
Yeah, I think we're just targeting the fixtures really with these two, and really their form. Fulham, like the last 3 games, they played well against Leicester and now again against Liverpool. Fairly low price, low owned players. So these guys are just enablers. You're not going to expect them to like get holds every week, but at their price range of in the 5 million range, I think they're good shouts. And you're going to have to pick one of these guys eventually, whether it's Fulham or like obviously the Shea Adams, which is a bit more, but you need these guys to like really enable your big signing.
Enable the spending space. And Fulham Brighton looks like it would be a really open game, to be honest. I would go with Rafinha. I'm just going to roll on my pick from last week. He looked quite impressive in the game this past week, so I'm going to back him against a Newcastle team that do give up a lot of chances.
Yeah.
But essentially, I think that brings us to close to the end. Anything else to add, guys? Any final thoughts? Is there? There's no Friday games then, is there? It's back to Saturday, right?
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, because
no,
the last
brilliant.
game was Thursday. Yeah.
Brilliant. Happy days. Hammer, it's good to have you back, man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the game week and hoping I get another green arrow. If I don't get the green arrow, you won't be seeing me on the podcast again.
We're gonna try and get something out every game week, before every game week or during and in between. But we'll keep you updated, and hopefully Hash should be back for the next one on. Hopefully get that one out on Thursday, and just before the game week deadline, which is on the Saturday. I would like to just echo our thoughts as usual. Wait till as close to the deadline as possible. Although, wait, to be fair, deadline is tomorrow, so get cracking. If you're going to make any moves, if you're relatively happy with your team, now would be a time to sort of roll on any transfers. If you're relatively happy with the bulk of your team, guys, because 2 transfers can do a lot more than 1 transfer every week or trying to take a hit every week. If you're going to take a hit, take it every 2 weeks, then get 3 new players in to sort of build a structure out. Anything else, guys?
No. Just plan ahead. There's so many games coming up. Just plan for the next 3-4 game weeks up to January. Yeah.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, and comment. It really helps us out. And don't forget to check out Footsapp as well. Guys, good luck for the game week.
Good luck, everyone.